So, hello everybody. This is our 23rd book club discussion, and today we are going to see The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I thought we can start with a little bit about the author because she's had a very interesting life, and I think we having a look at her life and then the inspiration behind this particular novel. How did it start? And also some praise and appreciation for the book. I think Shamal Rauji will also share with us in that particular area. And I read about some interesting hidden themes behind this book. It's a very I would say slightly controversial because some of them see those themes in the book, some of them don't. So we can just have a general discussion about it. And one of the, I think, the best short stories which she's written is called The Lottery, which was a very popular, and it's considered, I think, is the most anthologized short story in American literature. So we'll also have a slight look at it and some few discussion topics and quotes. So about the author, Shirley Jackson, she's written 6 novels and 2 memoirs, and she's written more than 200 short stories. Apart from this, in fact, she's also written a lot of articles, which are humorous articles for magazines like Good Housekeeping about her domestic life and about her children and family life. Her education, she has a bachelor's degree in journalism from Syracuse University. She became involved with the campus literary magazine, and that's how she met her future husband, Stanley Edgar Hyman, who later became a noted literary critic. And she came from a very rich and comfortable family. In fact, her great grandfather was a famous architect, and in fact, he built the house upon which Hill House is based on. And the maternal grandmother from her maternal grandmother was called Mimi, and she was a very she's a Christian Science practitioner. That's how they called themselves at that time, wherein they practice spiritual healing, and she used to do that on the members of the family and also otherwise, and Shirley Jackson had very mixed feelings about this. So she used to always say that that religion could easily become a vehicle for harm, and but at the same time, the influences of religion is very clear in her writing because she speaks a lot about witchcraft, mysticism, the mental power in not just in Hill House. I'm talking about her other works also. So they have this kind of theme in them, and she develops these ideas and these themes through the influence of her maternal grandmother, in fact. She had a personal library which was estimated to contain about 25,000 books. She had 4 children, and since she wrote a lot about them, fictionalized versions of them in her short stories, and she also wrote a lot of articles about her domestic life, though kids were also pretty famous, and they had a kind of literary fame too wherever they went. She was the chief breadwinner, especially after her short story, The Lottery, was published. She was the chief breadwinner of the family, but at the same time, she was raising the couple's children also. So her Hyman was a very patriarchal and a very dominating man. And he had a lot of affairs with his students itself, which she could not do anything about. And when she complained, he said that he wanted an open relationship, which she reluctantly agreed to. And Heyman, in fact, controlled the finances also. So in her home life, it wasn't very happy and peaceful for her. But at the same time, her children say that she was very loving, caring to them. She would always get the food on time on the table. She used to take care of them very well. But always she would keep thinking of her writing, which is what the children, talk about her. So this is something from her journal. So this is how she had written, which is why I left it in that small, the I's are not capitalized. They're left as small as how she had written. So when I first used to write stories and hide them away in my desk, I used to think that no one had ever been so lonely as I was. And I used to write about people all alone. I thought I was insane, and I would write about how the only sane people are the ones who are condemned as mad, and how the whole world is cruel and foolish and afraid of people who are different. And we can see this theme running in Hill House also. It's about people who are alone, who come together, and also they are different, but at the same time, they don't have a place in this world because they are different. Um, some little more about her was that she had a very harsh and critical mother. Every time her book would get published or a story is published, her mother would send her a letter telling her how bad it is, and that she cannot, her mother would tell her, why are you writing about the same theme again and again? Don't you have anything new to contribute and all these things? So she had a very harsh and critical mother. She had a husband also who was very humiliating, and he used to keep bullying her, and he would not contribute to any of the household responsibilities. He would just sit at his desk and uh, try to be the literary critic that he was. And whenever the ink is over in his pen, I heard that he would call out to her to come and fill the ink in his pen also. But despite all this, she was considered, her children say that she was very cheerful, caring, and she also wrote a lot of humorous pieces about her hectic life with the children and the housework. Um, she, she used to call herself as a practicing amateur witch. And she says she used to boast that I have placed hexes on all these prominent publishers and all this stuff. Uh, it is said that she used to do all these things as a gimmick for publicity for her books and all those things. But because of all this, somehow she was not taken very seriously.
Voice lost.
Okay. Where did she go? Archana?
No, perhaps her link failed, ma'am.
Yeah. Sarah.
Her
Battery ran out.
Yeah, no, the mic is giving some problem, so she is working with another one.
Okay.
No
Okay.
issue. No issue. No issue.
இப்ப கேக்குமா?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, so sorry. Till what were you able to hear?
We were in this.
She was never taken seriously as a
Okay,
woman.
she was never taken seriously. Okay.
Seriously as a women writer. That was.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so she wasn't taken very seriously as a women writer, and so she suffered from a mental breakdown, and she was under psychiatric treatment too. And after that, very shortly, she died of a cardiac arrest at 48. So, in fact, all her body of work, all those novels, memoirs, and everything together were ones which she created only within some 20-year span. So it's actually amazing productivity considering all the other commitments which she had. So this is again another quote from her. I wrote of neurosis and fear, and I think all my books laid end to end would be one long documentation of anxiety. Okay, so now coming to the novel, The Haunting of the Hill House. So Shirley Jackson was reading an article in the newspaper where a group of 19th century psychic researchers study a house, and they reported about their scientific findings to the Society for Psychic Research and all that. So when she read the things, she says that, what Jackson discovered in their dry reports was not the story of a haunted house. It was a story of several earnest and I believe misguided, certainly determined people with their differing motivations and background. This is somewhat very similar to what we see in Hill House also. Each of them have their own motivation why they are there, and each of them have their own backgrounds that they come from. So when she reads about it, that's how she gets inspired to write a story about a house. So she starts researching in various magazines, and she finds the picture of a particular Californian house which she felt, oh, this looks suitably haunted looking and all that. So she shares that picture with her mother, and her mother identifies that this was a house which was built by her own great great grandfather, who was an architect. So based on that house and the architecture of that house, or whatever how that house looked, she added on, of course, her own imagination, and that's how the Haunting of the Hill House was born. So the novel has received widespread appreciation. In fact, whether her conceit of with her conceit of Hill House, whether pretty be the name for it or not, Shirley Jackson proves again that she is the finest master currently practicing in the genre of the cryptic haunted tale. Stephen King says it's one of the finest horror novels of the late 20th century. And the book was also a finalist for the National Book Award. So Jackson treats her material, which could be reduced to penny dreadful stuff in less deft hands, with great skill and subtlety. The horror inherent in the novel does not lie in Hill House, monstrous though it is, or the events that take place within it, but in the unexplored recesses of its characters and its readers' minds. This is what I think Tulika was just talking about. So this is perhaps why it remains the definitive haunted house story. This was in a 2010 article in The Guardian. Again, New York Times polled, 13 very famous writers to choose the scariest book of fiction they have ever read. And both Carmen Maria Machado and Neil Gaiman, both of them chose The Haunting of the Hill House. And in fact, Carmen had mentioned, even though the events that appear to be supernatural activity are few and far between, those scenes are so chillingly written, as if Jackson was describing a phenomenon she'd seen before and really understood. The book's particular brand of surreality felt to me like that experience of walking home from a party, a little bit drunk, when the world somehow seems sharper and clearer and weirder. So before we go to the next part of it, Shamal Raoji, would you like to share what you had read about Stephen King's appreciation? Stephen King, in fact, had written a long review of the book, and I was not able to lay my hands on it, but Shamal Raoji has read it. Would you like to share about it?
In a way, he has appreciated the book like anything. In the sense, he said he's the best of what I call a horror novel. Just give me a little time now.
Sure. You can share later too.
No, okay. Then let us proceed. I'm pinpointing.
So later when we stop also, you can share. No problem.
Yes.
So this is another thing which was considered as a hidden theme of the novel. I read about various reviews about this as one of the main hidden themes of the novel. But when I was reading the book, I didn't really, it didn't feel so to me. But then I had to go back and read, and a lot of things felt like it made sense. But I don't know whether we are reading into it. So the major theme or horror of the book is repressed female sexuality, says one of the readers on Goodreads. So the most terrifying thing in the book is the traditional family structure. Anyone who does not fit into this has no place to belong. So in the book, we see the original owner of the house was unmarried, but she lived with a companion to whom she left her house after she died. And the companion was hated to death. So they hated her, and so much that finally she actually commits suicide. So this seemed like a hatred which happened due to their lesbian relationship. Again, we speak about Theodora and her roommate are on a break, and usually it seems in those times, the words roommate, companion were usually words used to mean a partner. So here again, Theodora says we are on a break. And this offers Elena the hope that there might be a family she can fit into. So that's why she says, I'm going to join you. I'm going to come with you. Again, there are also other places where they reveal their identity, hidden identity in small ways and fashions. Like they want to wear pants, which was considered a very manly thing at that time. And also she is very ashamed of red painted toenails, which seems like very loud and so she struggles with her general shy nature. But once she actually falls for Theodora, she asks her, I'll come with you and all that, and then she gets rejected. There's also a scene where they both are going together. They're very happy and everything, and they want to ask each other about the question, but at the same time, finally they don't, because it's squashed not by some terrifying monster or some big thing which they see, but they see this vision of a traditional family picnic. And the scene kind of changes immediately over there. So Shirley, when she was asked about this, so Shirley Jackson's response initially was that she used to say that, see, this is about feeling closed in about your life and repressed in all ways. I didn't mean just sexuality, is what Shirley Jackson said initially. Then also there are other small things, like at the end of the book, Eleanor kills herself because she realizes there's no place for her in a family. The odd family they've created at Hill House is coming to an end. Her own family don't even have a bedroom or a real bed for her to go back to. And finally, Theo says that she will not allow Eleanor to live with her. I put the whole thing, this slide, into quotes because these were all things which were shared by readers on Goodreads, very deeply analyzed and reviewed on Goodreads. So that's why I wanted to share it as their words itself. So that's the killer. She's risked it all and been told no. Theo is going back to her girlfriend, sorry, roommate. And this is as close as the publishers would have allowed Jackson to go at this time. This is the moment she decides to kill herself, just as the previous companion had done at Hill House. If the book had been any more obvious, it would have been banned or never published in the first place. So initially, as I said, Shirley Jackson said it's about feeling closed and repressed, and I didn't mean just sexuality and all this stuff. But later, as this topic became more and more, she was utterly shocked. She said, this is not how I wrote it at all. This is not an interpretation which I wanted to give for the book. And the biographer, Ruth Franklin, who wrote a biography of Shirley Jackson called A Rather Haunted Life, in the biography, he says that, Jackson wanted to show true friendship over there between the two girls. This is not what she wanted to interpret it as. And why she wanted to show was because she never had a true friend all her life. And it was something which she really yearned for. She really wanted. She didn't find it in her mother. She didn't find it in her husband. She didn't get it in even in anywhere around her also. In fact, she also mentions in her biography, no, Shirley Jackson itself mentions, not even in the biography, in one of the articles, how being a faculty wife in New England, she was literally hated. Nobody would speak to her. She was all alone over there because they had a very family thing. So if you wanted to be belonging to that place, then you should have, right from your grandfather's time, you should have been in that particular city. So someone who comes new is never welcomed over there, is what she says. So also another thing which, of course, on Goodreads, this is another reader who says, lesbianism or female sexuality is sometimes read onto things that in fact speak of the longing for a true, close, lifelong friend. So which is also, I think, quite true. Sarah Century, writing for Sci-Fi, she pointed out that she, in fact, again, she says that the book is definitely based on queer themes. But she, in fact, appreciates Shirley Jackson for the way she's handled it in that particular century, because she says Theo as a queer character goes against the bury your gays trope. So in 1950s, whatever books came out where they portrayed gays or lesbians, they were always portrayed as negative characters, or they were portrayed as stupid characters, dumb characters, or some form of negativity is how they are shown us. So she says that Shirley Jackson, in fact, has not done that for the first time. So Theo stands out for being an imperfect, fallible, pure woman, consistently being subjected to life-threatening situations, yet still walking away from them, evolving rather than fading away. Okay. So
Let me get in, madam, actually.
Sure.
Just one second. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
In that book, Stephen King has written in Dance Macabre, I think I'm correctly pronunciation. I will touch 2 points. One, his analysis of the character Elena, and the opening paragraph of the book. As for the opening paragraph, let me recall just a few lines. Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against its will, holding darkness within. It had stood so for 80 years and might stand for 80 years more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hill House, and whatever walked there walked alone. Okay. And on this paragraph, actually, he observed, he said, apart from New York Times having said that is the greatest opening paragraph in the history of horror, and Stephen King appreciated, while appreciating, he says, I think, quote, I think there are few, if any, descriptive passages in the English language that are any finer than this. Just hear me. It is a sort of a quiet epiphany every writer hopes for. Words that somehow transcend words, words which add up to a total greater than the sum of the parts. And if you observe closely, the same paragraph also gets repeated at the end of the book. Same paragraph, beginning and end.
Yes.
I was surprised. How come actually same paragraph that begins and also story gets ended? What does the writer want to communicate? Does it mean that actually we in life also we begin where we end and we end where we begin? And all beginnings are endings and all endings are beginnings. Of course, it has nothing to do with the week. That was the question that came up to me. What is the significance of having the same paragraph at the beginning or same paragraph at the end? Or is he trying to complete or close the loop and complete the circuit? And it is an unpleasant summary also. We can conclude saying that if Hill House was not haunted before, it certainly is now. Perhaps Jackson, that writer, is finishes by telling us that whatever walked in Hill House walked alone. And another question also arose: who or what is the whatever that walks alone? Maybe it is in the end Elena.
Correct.
That is it. And Stephen King next praised the characterization of Elena, the finest character to come out of the new American Gothic tradition. The character, he had immense praise for it. Then I was surprised. Actually, what actually is Gothic? I am new to this, so I searched and found what is Gothic tradition. So the Gothic tradition is associated with the creepy castles and mystery moods of the old world that emerged in America almost after the nation was created. Then comes actually what is American Gothic fiction. It takes place in a distinctly American setting, such as religion, racial tension, nature and wilderness, rationalism versus irrational, like that. So, and we have read in our discussion To Kill a Mockingbird, that was also classified as American Gothic book. At that time when we read, I was not aware, they have given an example, because it handles with the subject of racism, Killing the Mockingbird. So these are the two things I can say, which he has written. There are several points he has written, but these two I think enough. He has appreciated the language and the character. He has highlighted the best of the characters. So, yes.
She didn't get as much recognition for this during her lifetime, I think,
Very
for
correct.
this particular story. As much as what she got later on. She did get a good thing, because she was able to support the family, which itself is a very big thing for a writer, I think.
Surely. And somewhere I read she struggled with mental illness.
Yes, she did.
And she herself had lived a haunted life herself.
Yeah. So the biography reads, that is what her biography's name is, A Rather Haunted Life.
Hauntedness. That is what I found out.
Yeah.
That is one who has got a mental illness. And they hardly lived, as you said, 48 years.
Yes.
And with a library of 25,000 books and with 48 years, she must have done a lot of reading herself. to what you call, to keep away this
People, I know. The negativity around her.
negativity and other suffering and rest of the things.
True, true. Okay.
And
so,
then I really loved reading that, what do you call, Lottery. That book I like, actually.
yeah. That one I really enjoyed reading. Yeah.
Small books.
Correct.
It helps
Yeah.
to understand a way of writing.
True. So proceeding further, so this is exactly what we were just talking about. So The Lottery is a short story which was published on June 28, 1948 in the issue of New Yorker. It said that it received a response that no New Yorker story had ever received. I think Shirley Jackson herself received about some more than 300 letters personally itself. Hundreds of letters put in that were characterized by, as Jackson put it, either bewilderment, speculation, and old-fashioned abuse. So, so it became one of the most anthologized stories in American literature. And Heyman, her husband, said that she was always proud that the Union of South Africa banned the lottery. And she felt that they at least understood the story. So I don't want to go in a lot into the story, but I think this is one story, you must definitely, Tulika, Meghalai, everyone must definitely pick it up.
In fact, I should read the book again now with so much insight.
Please read. This book, though small, one has to read between lines, what I found.
Yeah.
It
In
gives
fact,
some meaning.
True. After reading Goodreads, in fact, I had to go back and read it again. I had to read a lot of the passages again to, read these smaller nuances into the book, which is something which completely missed me.
Exactly correct. The first paragraph and last paragraph, I found out after a review.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, really, same wording, if you can go through it.
Same wording.
Same wording, actually. And as a lottery is concerned, let me separate one remark and we will lead to Tulika Madam and others to read.
Yeah, let's not spoil it.
Exactly, I will not, no spoilers. Please.
I will.
Yeah.
Like
And the book was a required reading in youth high school. And while reviewing the book, one of the reviewers has remarked, Miss Jackson writes not with a pen, but a broomstick. That is what they reviewed. So now I will leave it to Tulika Madam to read the book.
Yeah. So one more thing I would like to say is, as I told you, so she was a faculty wife in New England, and the town was extremely unfriendly to her. So the characters which she has written in The Lottery, the short story, the setting and the characters, everything is based on the place where she lived in.
She lived it. So it sounds very realistic.
That's what she actually hated all of them so much, so she could I think really bring it out in the story.
And so small a story, it just hits on your face. The conclusion.
Correct. Really worth reading. Okay, so to go on further, I have only a very little bit on the discussion topics. So one of the main things which most readers had spoken about was that that feeling of claustrophobia was very beautifully brought out by Shirley Jackson, and that was the impact which they felt while reading the book and for a long time after reading the book too. So one of the things that, like I just said, the lasting impression in the mind was about the physical and the psychic claustrophobia. So you can see that in all the places in the book, like the house is surrounded by hills. The doors and windows refuse to remain open. The rooms are encased within rooms itself. And the decor, which is designed by Victorians, is also described, who buried themselves in folds of velvet and tassels and purple plush. So all that sounds very comfortable and cushioned, and they get very good meals and all that, but it's so suffocating for them, So they always keep telling, I want to nail the door. I want to nail the door and make sure it never closes. And so Eleanor also comes to the place with dreams of liberation. But finally, it feels like she also is trapped into it itself. So escape is only a mirage when it comes to the Hill House. And that was one thing I think which she has done very beautifully, very subtly during using the imagery and everything. Shirley Jackson is able to bring that out. Another thing which I wanted to discuss. Yeah. So everywhere this word, this keeps repeating. Journeys end in lovers meeting.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Exactly.
So puzzled with this.
45 times
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
And
correct.
it is all said by Elena.
Yeah, it's all said by
With
Elena. Exactly.
Eleanor actually.
So I was, when I was coming, reading about this particular quote, and there were so many different interpretations for it. And in fact, I also thought of few interpretations. So I'm just giving,
Sure.
yeah. So different readers, like I said, they interpret it very differently. So is it talking about the love she developed for Theo? So this is what many of them who read about female sexuality into the stories, this is what they felt, that she's talking about journeys end in lovers meeting. Or it could be that is she talking about the love which she has developed for this. Still now she's lived a very lonely life, so she has developed a love for the company which is there around her. Having people around her itself is making her happy. Or does it talk about the love she has developed for the house and she chooses to die there rather than leave Hill House? Or does it talk about the love that Hill House has for her? This is last one is my interpretation. So does Hill House want her journey to end and keep her with it forever? So whatever walked there, walked alone.
But for me, I feel it's a bit of everything. You have brought out nicely. Bit of everything. Because she was lonely and she was suffering, so had a sense of guilt because she was nursed her mother for 11 long years and she dies.
Correct.
So she wanted, and it is her loveless and depressed life.
Correct.
But all said and done, Elena is a different and very difficult but a lovable character. That's what I found.
True.
And if you recollect, actually, she was also involved in this poltergeist phenomena. That means a ghost or spirit supposed to throwing stones, noises, etc., etc. That is why she was formed for this by the doctor when she was young. And she leads a life that was very oppressive and under a demanding mother. She was very lonely, and her sister was also dominating her. And she wanted to be accepted, whatever the situation may be, and wants to become something more than what she has been. So it could be she is drawn to the house and her own psychic condition, since she is starved of love actually. So she is on a journey. If you recollect a few pages in the beginning, she describes after she has having stolen the car from her sister, she begins her journey. And just anywhere she comes across a village, she wants to get adopted or accepted by it, or a building or a line, anything that comes actually, she visualizes, she fantasizes for her acceptance by the other side. She is short of love. So anything, any journey, maybe physical, maybe psychological, she wish she gets loved by them. So the points you brought out all contribute to her status. We can't say pinpoint and say this is okay, that is not. All contribute to that. That's my feeling now. No voice, madam. We are not able to hear. Speaker gone again, it seems.
Is it audible now?
Yes,
earlier slide was not audible. Maybe you might have read it. Previous one.
Yeah, this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You can hear me now, right?
No, we can.
Clearly.
Okay.
This is what I was trying to say. She's just for acceptance, love, everywhere, whatever comes across.
Yeah. So as soon as she sees the house, she says, I could live there all alone. In fact, she's not saying that with others. She says all alone also. So
Yes.
this all alone, I felt kind of relates to the last line which we had. No, whatever walked there,
Yes,
walked
yes,
alone.
yes.
Yeah. So so maybe like what you said, Eleanor is the person who is walking there all alone now.
Not only that, she fantasizes to be a princess, to be
Yeah.
accepted.
Mm.
So that means you look at the what I call lovelessness, we can call in her life.
Correct. So yeah, so I could live there all alone, she thought, slowing the car to look down the winding garden path to the small blue front door with perfectly a white cat on the step. No one would ever find me there either, behind all those roses, just to make sure I would plant oleanders by the road. I will light a fire in the cool evenings and toast apples at my own hearth. I will raise white cats and sew white curtains for the windows and sometimes come out of my door to go to the store to buy cinnamon and tea and thread. People will come to me to have their fortunes told, and I will brew love potions for sad maidens. I will have a robin. So she goes into that whole imagination.
This speaking to herself, it is there in the beginning and also it is there at the end when
Correct.
she tries to commit suicide.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
after having completed that last one, that her soliloquy, speaking to herself, I had just a belief that Anna Karen Anna,
Yes.
that character I remembered.
Right.
Correct.
She also, some 3-4 pages, she goes on
Yeah.
speaking to herself. She goes on.
That's,
Of course, I could not. I felt it that there is a little of a touch in this of
Correct.
Anna in the role of Elena. I felt
True.
it.
True. So proceeding further, I have one more question. Did anyone watch the latest Netflix series, The Haunting of Hill House?
I have not seen.
No
But
time.
there is a difference between this book and
Yes.
because
Yeah.
characters may be 4, but he is in another the
No,
setting and other
it's
things.
quite
They changed
different.
their names. Quite
Yeah.
different.
Quite different.
Sources are Shirley Jackson's book, but the director took the freedom of modifying it, different characters.
Yeah.
Like that, I have not read it, but it is also scary.
I watched the first episode and it was so scary that I stopped watching. I didn't want to watch further.
I see.
That's scary. Did you find the book scary?
Book was still okay, Tulika. It was
Yet
still
only
okay, I
at
felt.
one
No, I'm
instance
just
we
trying.
found it. At one instance we found it was scary when there was blood on the dress.
The blood.
And that was only. Otherwise, actually, the scariness is in the minds of the characters. I never found it externally. It is internal scary.
Right.
And unless you read through their minds, you cannot feel the scare whatever that is they are having
Yeah.
while living in.
That
So
was
my house is right now a duplex. So I stay, I sleep up and there's nobody there and I'm reading a book. So, so after the doors, there's banging on the doors and all that, I stopped. I was like, it's better I just, read this in the morning. I don't want to do it in the night. So even otherwise, my doors all keep creaking over here because in Singapore, they have all these wooden floors. And maybe it creaks in the morning, but we don't hear. But night it creaks so badly. So I thought it's better I don't read. So for me, I found it scary.
No, we will read it book as a book.
Yeah.
I read it. But this Elena, is she responsible for writing on the wall? Because she walks, she knocks others' doors and passes, but she has the habit of actually knocking others' doors.
Yeah. Also, Theodora also was not a very stable character, right? She also felt like a person who would do it just for the sake of scaring others. She seemed like a person
kind
who's
of very
capable.
flighty
Yeah,
person, right?
exactly.
She's not serious, fun-loving character.
Yeah, she isn't a fun-loving character. She
Yes.
Eleanor is like too serious. I feel she's half the time she's in her head.
Correct.
She describes this whole apartment which she doesn't have. Yeah, I couldn't understand her. In fact, that's why I didn't find the book scary because I just wrote her off. I wrote off Elena. And whatever was happening, a lot of it was in her head.
Yeah, correct.
Exactly. Very correct observation.
Which is what
I felt like, they wanted also had that feeling that they shouldn't show fear while they wanted the other person to show the fear for the,
True. They were all making fun and
like if someone shows fear, then they are ridiculed. So it felt like as if they were doing things so that they can scare the others and make them feel scared and, maybe
And if you observe, there are 4 to 5 group discussions in the drawing room. They all sit together, take brandy, discuss. It softens the story or scary or harshness of the book or fear of the book.
Correct.
Just to discuss there, this is what. And another thing, nobody comes up with what they have written. That was the beginning. They have to bring out on paper actually what are their experiences.
They should have,
The
should have
doctor
talked
also,
about that.
Dr. Moteg also, I don't think he has again raised the issue. He has asked what is that, bring it. And they were more concentrated in actually sending Elena out. They just actually banished her almost on the hill, though she wanted to remain there.
No, but she tried to kill herself. So they would, anyway, in the beginning, they had said if the house starts to get to anybody, they will leave. So probably they were scared for her safety. The sending her alone was very strange, but they wanted her away from the house so that, she wouldn't try anything like scary, like she climbed there up the library.
That is there before the climbs that the banister she climbs and the turret to bring it down safely. Luke
climbed up, Also, that library thing, the nursery, there's this cold patch or something, right?
Correct.
And then the doctor's wife goes and sleeps there and nothing happens.
She says there is nothing there. And that is why I was going to ask this doctor's wife, Mrs. Motor. It is a typical character. And if you observe the language, actually, the speech is entirely different from the book. She has her vocabulary, the way she, and every time she was pulling up her husband, that Motor. You don't know this, and I come to settle these things. She is decided.
And she has Arthur with her.
I don't know whether because she has not made much of a substantial contribution in the build-up of the story. She was just the extra, her and her assistant, Arthur, it seems like. These two people, they were externals to the story, I felt. No.
Correct.
Yeah. She was puzzling. And they used to do that board thing. What was it, Archana?
Yeah, that...
I forget the name. Like the Oja board kind of thing.
And all that. That
so that also was connected to the ghost or something. Because it didn't
come and all that.
Like that was kind of unresolved for me. I didn't figure. So that means there was a ghost. I was like,
No, if you take person, somewhere I read actually 99% do not believe. Only 1% believe there are ghosts. So somewhere I read in this while reviewing it. So this book is for those people who both categories, those 99 and also 1%. Those who believe in gifts, those who do not believe. Because she Jackson, she has not drawn any conclusion. She has left it to the creativity or imagination of the reader. If I believe in ghosts, conclusion. That means there is a creativity involved on the part of the reader. He can conclude in any way whichever he likes. That is something great. For instance, instead of father taking hand-holding girls, they're taking in her own garden path. She says, you think yourself. You draw your own conclusion. Whether it was right for Elena to commit suicide or whether it was right for her to be driven out of this by this doctor and everything. And when they know papers were given, how conclusions could be drawn. He is a rationalist, the Dr. Montauk.
Correct.
And look whether he inherited the property or not after having gone and come back. We don't know all those things. And that cook and her husband, they are also different characters.
They are also strange.
They
should make a Bollywood movie. It would be so scary.
Exactly. That cook was really scary. She very standard 5 or 6 sentences only.
Correct. I thought that was so filmy. I'll breakfast at 9. I leave at 6. She says it. And no matter whoever is saying what, she just continues saying what
she wants to say. Correct.
Robo-like response.
Correct.
Although whatever was asked, it was like, I'll clear up at 10, I'll keep at 1. You guys.
Yes.
Oh God, she was a character.
And it's just, if you call, nobody will come after this hour.
I'm 6 miles away. She's like, rub it in.
See, because while leaving, she instills a sense of fear in the occupants of the house. Nobody will come, even if it's house.
That's what.
No.
I had a few quotes
Kindly. I only have kept one for me. I only have.
Oh, okay. So, no live organism can continue for long, exist sanely, conditions of absolute reality. Even larks and katydids are some to dream.
What does it mean? This one? It's a weighty quote, I find. I also came across it.
So if you see her also, I think it means a lot about Eleanor, you know, how she always, like just now, like Tilika was telling, so she imagines an entire house or her own apartment, and she even imagines little details of what is there in there, and you know how she's lived and everything, and it's all a lie. So she is not living in reality. So she says that if you live only in reality, then you cannot exist sane. So you're supposed to
That means
dream and
imagination is required.
some kind of
You have
dream,
to
and
imagine
this is what I read into this particular quote.
Correct.
Even the reference to the food also was like that the food was so perfect so that these people want to go out or venture out, or it was like that, as of just pulling them there, no? To
Correct.
make
A
them
very
stay.
cozy existence kind of a feeling, no?
Yeah. So
Very,
even
very
if the
comfortable.
cook was also very cold,
Correct.
but the food and all, everything was very good, and you know, like they didn't even think of what to say, escaping that place even for the food also.
Correct.
Like it was like all was like set up, you know, perfectly, so
True.
that just to make people what to say, stay back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Correct.
Very. The house offers very comfortable living.
Correct. True.
Except for cold patches and all that. Otherwise, it was like,
yeah. Cold patches and writing
and
on
I
the
was
walls.
like, suddenly when I was reading it, I thought, imagine if you feel a cold patch suddenly, what will we think?
It will be scary.
Yeah, knocking on the doors.
And another thing, doors get automatically closed on their own.
Yeah, oh my God.
That is something actually. They lose their way every time.
Yeah.
Drawing room, dining hall, and this all those things, library, they lose their way.
Correct. So this was the paragraph which came in the opening paragraph and the closing paragraph of the book. So Hill House, not sane, stood by itself against its hills, holding darkness within. It had stood so for 80 years and might stand for 80 more. Within, walls continued upright, bricks met neatly, floors were firm, and doors were sensibly shut. Silence lay steadily against the wood and stone of Hell House, and whatever walked there walked alone. Am I walking towards something I should be running away from? I think there was one of her first thoughts.
Elena.
Don't do it, Elena told the little girl. Insist on your cup of stars. Once they have trapped you into being like everyone else, you will never see your cup of stars again. Don't do it. And the little girl glanced at her and smiled a little subtle, dimpling, wholly comprehending smile, and shook her head stubbornly at the glass. Brave girl, Elena thought. Wise, brave girl.
I like this one.
Yeah, even
I
I like
also
this.
like it.
I really like this one. Yeah.
Particularly the cup of stars. That phrase I like actually. That means when you look down into the cup, you have the vision of the stars.
Correct.
There is a contrast actually. That I like the cup of stars. That
and
means
something different about this thing they told, no, but the house also, that house, the axis is different, little leaning over.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something very different I found.
Yeah, the dimensions were a little different in every place. There's
and you can't see the tower. You can't see the tower from one point of the house.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that one was really something intriguing. Yeah.
It is placed in such an angle. Actually, you can't have a clear view of it.
Yeah. In fact, I was reading somewhere that in staircase, if there's even a 5 millimeter, difference between two stairs, the chances of tripping on that particular stair increases so high.
Yeah, I thought of it after I read this only. I was thinking, oh, like this also is slipping.
Yeah. Just a small 5 millimeter difference also can make a huge difference when it comes to staircases and all this. And we have too many. There are, I think, 2 different incidents where people fall on the stairs and die inside the house, right? Which they talked about previously. Yeah.
Yes, I also recollect that.
Yeah.
But that was something really new for me. I was like, huh? Like this.
Yeah.
Like the unimaginable,
Correct.
Then you think, oh, maybe there is something like that. We don't know about it. No, we haven't, inquired or thought of it, no, that way.
Yes, quite possible. And when you are used to some particular dimensions and things, I think it's difficult to live in that way, like.
And adapt to a new dimensions, a new
Correct.
measurement.
Yeah. So even with a
That's-
bed, when your bed is round, it feels so different, I feel.
Exactly.
With a round cot and all this, stylish ones, which are usually
Yeah,
there.
because we are used to the ones like
Yeah,
this.
we are used to that rectangular ones, so it feels more better. Yeah.
It takes time to adapt to the new dimensions, the new design.
Correct.
Any slight
Correct.
change from what we are living is like completely it changes the whole thing, right?
Yeah, definitely. There was this famous book which recently came about that, right? I'm sorry, I forgot the name. It's one of those historical novels where I forgot the name. So it's a it's about a blind man who has to leave a particular place, and he doesn't want to leave the place because it's the only place where he's comfortable with all the measurements and everything, so he knows exactly what is
despite
where.
his blindness, he is very much accustomed to movement and distance. There is
Correct.
a movie also that has come on that, I think.
Oh, okay. There's one more also, Shamal Raoji. There is this one, The Last Man in the Tower also. That's also very interesting. That's about, it's Aravind Adiga's book.
I have not read any of his books, actually.
Oh, this one is the one you should definitely pick. It's
Can you kindly repeat the title, ma'am?
The Last Man in the Tower.
Last Man in the.
So it's about Bombay and the real estate redevelopment and all those things about, and how one particular man doesn't want his house to go into redevelopment because he's blind and he is an old man and he's used only to his house. So he doesn't want it to change.
He's a Booker Prize winner for White Tiger.
White Tiger, yeah. But I don't know. Somehow I like this one a lot. Maybe I could relate a lot to Bombay and everything because of that.
No, I put it in the TV. Thank you.
Yeah. It's a very gripping and quick read, in fact.
Okay. I have not read any book of his.
Oh. Okay, few more quotes. Okay. Fear, the doctor said, is the relinquishment of logic, the willing relinquishing of reasonable patterns. We yield to it or we fight it, but we cannot meet it halfway.
Thank you. You have covered my quote.
This is the quote which you had.
Fear, no, you can read it. Fear is the relinquishment of logic. When logic goes in, fear gets in.
Correct.
Yes. Either we yield to it or we fight it.
Correct.
But
we
we cannot make it halfway. But no compromise formed as a fear is concerned.
Yeah, there's no half law.
Half law, it will not work. I liked this actually.
Yes.
There's a lot of what I call psychological significance to depth to it.
Correct.
We can apply to any of our normal conditions.
Correct.
Fine, thank you.
I am like a small creature swallowed whole by a monster, she thought, and the monster feels my tiny little movements inside. This is when she thinks about Hill House. Yeah. To learn what we fear is to learn who we are. Horror defies our boundaries and illuminates our souls. No, the menace of the supernatural is that it attacks where modern minds are weakest, where we have abandoned our protective armor of superstition and have no substitute defense. She could not remember ever being truly happy in her adult life. Her years with her mother had been built up devotedly around small guilts and small reproaches, constant weariness and unending despair. Without ever wanting to become reserved and shy, she had spent so long alone with no one to love that it was difficult for her to talk, even casually, to another person without self-consciousness and an awkward inability to find words.
Elena's character.
It felt, she speaks about Elena's character, but it felt like she was talking about herself, in fact, Shirley Jackson.
There is a lot of
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes,
So
yes.
Shirley Jackson is very famous for, there are very few interviews which she has given. She usually doesn't speak to journalists and all, not for any other reason, because she feels so self-conscious about talking to anybody. So it felt a lot like, she's writing about herself.
Actually, Elena's character itself, when you told about Shirley Jackson's family and all, I was like,
it feels so much
like more like her.
Correct.
Maybe this Elena's character is modeled more based on author herself.
Right. It does feel like that.
Right.
Materializations are often best produced in rooms where there are books. I cannot think of any time when materialization was in any way hampered by the presence of books. I had a feeling that I read another way this, I thought instead of materialization, probably we can say imagination, or, maybe books is what is makes us imagine things.
Yeah, true.
Creativity. You become more creative when you read books.
True. My dear, how can I make you perceive that there is no danger where there is nothing but love and understanding? So when there's only love and understanding, there's no danger. So that felt good. And so that's all I have.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you. I think something is wrong with my camera also. It looks like that,
gone.
I'm not seen.
Yeah, I can't see you.
I set everything long back itself, and let me see if I can try another camera. Yeah. So the normal
this is all right.
Yeah. I wanted to show you this. So I had this book.
What's that?
Bring it a little down.
Yeah. Is it better now?
Yeah,
is not clear.
Let me tell you. Shirley Jackson. Yeah.
Let me tell you, Shirley Jackson.
What is it about?
So this had a few, so it's a collection of her works after she passed away, whatever she had, towards the end, but not published. So it has like some of her short stories. It had some of her essays also. So it was like a mixed kind of a book. And that felt kind of nice to read. It was, and it also had all those, those domestic kind of stuff which she writes.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so it was very different. So it's got some.
Is it autobiographical? Is it autobiographical?
It is slightly autobiographical also. So there's some essays and reviews which she's written. There are some short stories. There are some 20 short stories or so. And then there's, of course, those humorous articles which she's written about washing dishes and setting the table, and how to enjoy a family quarrel is one of the things. And the pleasures and perils of dining out with children. So those kind of things. And then she's also written some essays about writing, which was also nice and interesting. So it's a nice book. And somehow, I found it I had it before itself. We found it somewhere in Singapore on sale. So I got it for like some $7 or something, which was a nice steal.
There's a different cover on Amazon of the same book. It's called Let Me Tell You, Shirley Jackson, right?
Yeah, Let Me Tell You.
I think you got the hardcover version.
Yeah, hardcover.
It's a hardbound.
Yeah, hardbound. And
the paperback is like a different one.
All those deckled edges and all that. No, so beautiful.
It's worth a buy, right? I put it in my cart right away then.
Oh.
I'm feeling really very in the hand. Whatever it is, that feel of the book in the hand, the paper and all that.
That paper and all that, that deckled edges and hardcover, all that gives such a good feeling.
Yeah, but if you tell my children, they think that I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I'm very
paper, what are you talking about?
No, it's so nice to see, like all of you not batting an eyelid about buying the book. Buying any book for that matter.
But I read it on the Kindle, so I can't say anything. This one I read on the Kindle.
Yeah, even I got it from the library. So I had this. Did anyone read this edition?
No, I have the woman.
This one is mine actually.
Yeah, this is the one I have. The one that
This is one I have.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the
okay.
one. I think we
So
all
it's-
have that one.
I have the same thing actually.
Okay.
And when you have shown the other book, let me tell you, I thought it is from Chitra Banerjee Divakarni.
Oh,
The
okay.
Palace of Illusions she has written.
Yeah.
And
That's
it's
also
same,
that
almost
green.
same screen cover. Green
Correct,
pink.
correct. Green color.
Green.
Correct.
I got confused.
Oh,
Matter
okay,
of fact.
okay.
There's a gate, big gate
Yeah.
on that one. the
Very,
checkboard.
very correct, Tulika ma'am. Very correct,
yeah.
actually.
Do you have any foreword in your book in the Haunting of Hill House?
Let me see.
I think I should.
She has written about.
Beginning.
No forward.
No foreword.
Only something about the writer Shirley Jackson.
About the author.
Oh,
That's
about that. Other than that, nothing actually. She was born
nothing.
in She was born in San Francisco, etc., etc.
Okay.
So no forward.
Oh, so I have a very nice foreword of about 16 to 20 pages in this. So which
Acha.
was also very helpful in making the presentation. There was a lot
Okay.
about
That's
it.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So very detailed thing.
Interesting. I'm very inspired by her life. I mean, to become a
Yeah.
writer in those
Circumstances.
to read
Exactly.
25,000 books, and it's like,
And within so short a life.
That's
Correct.
what, in 20 years. And we keep saying, I can't write because of this, because of that.
Yeah.
With 48 years of life, 25,000 books actually.
Yeah,
Really.
that's huge.
And with what I call very depressing, haunted life. Husband
Right,
not supportive.
Yeah.
She must have done a great thing. She has done.
True. It really, her life was really very very interesting
Tough
to
life.
see, and especially for a
Anyway,
lazy
interesting.
writer
We
like
get to
me,
know about all of them, no?
For a lazy writer like me, it felt like, oh my God, what am I doing
No,
in life?
let me share a quote out of the book, madam.
Okay.
Because on this I have written after
Uh-huh.
having heard about